Following the demise of the azure silkworm, the cocoon around the black flag also fell apart, and it immediately flew back to Hanli as a black shadow. However, before Hanli even had a chance to catch his breath, a thunderous roar of fury abruptly rang out from deep within the spirit domain. "How dare you betray me?" A streak of silver light shot rapidly through the air, then faded to reveal Kuling with an incensed look on her face. As soon as she arrived on the scene, she immediately flipped a hand over to produce a red badge, which she closed her fingers around forcefully, and the badge was instantly crushed into pieces. A pained look appeared in the golden beetle's eyes as it threw up a small mouthful of golden blood, but aside from that, it remained largely unaffected. Kuling faltered slightly upon seeing this, while the golden beetle flew over to Hanli's side as it scoffed. "Did you really think that you could control me with a mere spirit subjugation badge? How naive are you?" Kuling looked back and forth between Hanli and the golden beetle for a moment, then said in a cold voice, "So you must be the former owner of this gold-devouring immortal." Indeed, the golden beetle was none other than Jintong, the gold-devouring immortal that Hanli had lost during his first foray into the immortal realm. "I'll keep her occupied. You find a way to get out of here," Jintong said to Hanli, and its body swelled drastically in size amid a flash of golden light as it pounced at Kuling. Hanli took a glance at Jintong with mixed emotions in his eyes, then turned and continued to fly straight ahead. "You're not getting away!" Kuling yelled as she pointed a finger at Jintong, releasing a streak of white light that contained the white rope immortal treasure from before. The white rope vanished into thin air in a flash, then abruptly re-emerged an instant later right next to Jintong, before tying it up in the blink of an eye. Jintong was instantly stopped cold in its tracks, but instead of immediately dealing with Jintong, Kuling began to make a hand seal, and all of the grey shadows within the spirit domain quickly transformed into balls of grey flames. All of a sudden, the entire spirit domain had been transformed into a sea of grey fire. A vicious gleam then flashed through Kuling's eyes, and a vast expanse of grey flames surged toward Hanli at her behest. Hanli's expression changed slightly upon seeing this, yet before he had a chance to do anything, numerous streaks of bright golden light suddenly flashed past him from the side, tearing straight through the nearby grey flames. Immediately thereafter, Jintong appeared in front of him, clutching the remnants of a torn white rope in its mouth. "You thought this little string would be enough to keep me tied up?" Jintong scoffed as it chewed on the white rope a few times before swallowing it. In the face of its peerlessly sharp mandibles, that immortal treasure may as well have been made out of tofu. Kuling's pupils contracted slightly upon seeing this. Meanwhile, Jintong's aura was fluctuating drastically in a very strange, unstable display. The fury in Kuling's eyes became even more pronounced as veins began to bulge on her forehead. At this point, it had already become apparent to her that Jintong had been hiding its true power this entire time. Hanli took a long glance at Jintong, then adopted his giant golden mountain ape form, transforming into a giant golden ape in the blink of an eye before flying onward. He had discovered that while this spirit domain severely restricted one's cultivation base, the impact that it had on one's physical prowess was actually quite minimal. In his giant mountain ape form, Hanli's entire body was brimming with primal power, and he was able to advance through the air far more quickly, reaching the edge of the spirit domain in the blink of an eye. Kuling's expression changed slightly upon seeing this, and she hurriedly pointed a finger forward. A streak of light shot out of her fingertip before vanishing into the edge of the spirit domain as fast as lightning. The grey light on the edge of the spirit domain instantly began to flash erratically, following which a grey cloud emerged, giving off formidable law power fluctuations. In the blink of an eye, the entire spirit domain had transformed into an independent space. A dull thump rang out as Hanli crashed straight into the grey cloud, only to be repelled as if he had run into a giant sponge. His expression darkened slightly upon seeing this, and he immediately opened his mouth to release a burst of azure light that vanished into the body of the giant azure dragon. The azure dragon let loose a long draconic roar, and it reverted back into a giant azure sword. Hanli grabbed onto the hilt of the sword with both hands, then swung it viciously into the grey cloud, causing it to ripple and tremble violently, but it remained resilient. "You're a fool if you think you can escape from my spirit domain!" Kuling chuckled coldly upon seeing this, and she quickly made a hand seal, upon which the grey flames within the spirit domain instantly converged toward Hanli and Jintong. As a result, the grey flames around them instantly became several times denser, turning from grey to black. A burst of law powers that were several times more formidable than before surged out of the black flames before sweeping toward Hanli, instantly shattering the time law powers around him to swallow up his entire body. Hanli's expression instantly changed drastically as his golden fur quickly began to lose its luster, and his enormous ape body was also rapidly becoming depleted and wizened. At the same time, his immortal spiritual power circulation was slowed down drastically, and a sense of feebleness spread through his entire body. Not only that, but a multitude of illusions had surfaced in his mind, and a burst of violent destructive intent welled up in his heart, as if he were being plagued by inner demons. Hanli was quite alarmed by this, and he frantically tried to channel his cultivation arts and his time law powers to suppress the wild urges that were welling up in his heart, but it was a completely futile task. Hints of red light were appearing in his eyes, and they were rapidly spreading, slowly filling the entirety of his eyes. A hint of urgency flashed through Jintong's eyes upon seeing this, and it was just about to do something when the black flames around it transformed into a series of fiery black dragons that swept toward it from all directions. In the next instant, Kuling appeared directly in front of it in a flash, blocking its path as she sneered. "Do you want to go save your former owner? Keep dreaming! You're in my spirit domain right now, so you have to do as I say." Jintong gave a cold harumph as bright golden light erupted out of its body, and streaks of sword chi surged forth in all directions, instantly shredding all of the surrounding fiery black dragons. Not only that, but the streaks of golden sword chi began to swirl to form a golden vortex, releasing a burst of tremendous suction force that devoured much of the nearby black flames. Immediately thereafter, Jintong pounced directly at Kuling, and two huge streaks of translucent light, both of which were around 1,000 feet in length, were sent hurtling toward Kuling from either side, slicing through all of the black flames in their path with ease. "Which is it? Are you going to face me, or are you going to save your former master?" Kuling chuckled as she made a rapid string of hand seals, and bursts of black flames converged from all directions to form two lines of black light in a flash. Bursts of tremendous law power fluctuations surged out of the two black lines, and they flew through the air at Kuling's behest to clash against the two oncoming streaks of translucent light. A pair of dull thumps rang out as the black lines and the streaks of translucent light dissipated in unison. "If he can't even deal with something like this, then he's not worthy of being my master. All I can do to help him is keep you occupied so you can't attack him directly. If he still can't escape from this spirit domain, then he's far too weak and simply deserves to die," Jintong said in an indifferent voice as it swept its pair of front legs through the air once again, sending two more streaks of translucent light hurtling toward Kuling. Kuling harumphed coldly as she raised her arms, and bursts of black flames shot forth to oppose the streaks of translucent light. Meanwhile, the red coloration in Hanli's eyes was becoming and more pronounced, and his eyes were about to turn completely red. Right at this moment, the azure bamboo cloudswarm swords in his body abruptly shuddered, following which thick arcs of golden lightning erupted out of his body amid a deafening thunderclap that resembled the roar of a scorned primordial beast. In the blink of an eye, Hanli's entire body was completely encompassed within a sea of golden lightning, and an aura of righteousness erupted out of the divine devil-bane lightning before surging into his mind. The insanity that clouded his mind instantly faded, while much of the red coloration in his eyes also receded. He immediately pounced on this opportunity as he summoned his mantra-treasured axis once again. Perhaps it was due to the fact that it was situated in the spirit domain, but on this occasion, The mantra-treasured axis didn't release the same golden ripples as it always had in the past. Bursts of time law powers surged out of the axis to envelop Hanli's entire body, acting as another barrier against the invasive law powers in the spirit domain. At the same time, he channeled his spirit refinement technique with all his might, and a cool and refreshing sensation instantly welled up in his mind. The insanity and feebleness that had plagued his mind and body quickly receded, and his immortal spiritual power circulation also returned to normal. A hint of incredulity appeared in Kling's eyes upon seeing this, and she exclaimed, "How could this be?" She then gave a cold harumph before pointing a finger at Han Li, and a burst of black flames was instantly sent flying his way, transforming into a black arrow mid-flight. However, the black arrow wasn't able to get very far before it crashed into a streak of translucent light upon which both exploded violently. "You want to switch opponents all of a sudden? I think you should stick with me." Jin Tong chortled as it positioned itself directly in front of Ku Ling. Meanwhile, Han Li paid no heed to the battle taking place in the distance as he cast his gaze toward the grey cloud up ahead, and a fierce look flashed through his eyes as he opened his mouth to release 3 bursts of azure light, which surged into the silver bell, the tusk sword, and the black flag around him. The 3 immortal treasures instantly shuddered in unison, and the light radiating from them brightened by several fold, to the point that it was impossible to look directly at them. "Go!" Han Li yelled, and the 3 immortal treasures shot forth as 3 streaks of dazzling light before striking the grey cloud with tremendous force. As soon as the 3 immortal treasures came into contact with the grey cloud, they immediately exploded into 3 balls of light, 1 silver and 2 black. The grey cloud also shuddered violently, as did the entire spirit domain, while a large section of the surrounding black flames was swept away.